Hey everyone, this is Lada from Astrolada.com, and today I'm here with Dr. Diana Bakalova, PhD, working psychologist and astrologer. So she has observations directly from hundreds of clients or thousands, I don't know how many already. And she's combined astrology and psychology, amazing. And today we're talking about Pluto, difficult Pluto transits, difficult Pluto aspects, Pluto in the houses in the birth chart. This is the most mysterious planet. We've only observed it for less than 100 years, but it's so powerful. It's the smallest planet, but it's the most impactful one psychologically. And it makes the deep changes that never everything is the same after Pluto transit. And whatever Pluto is in your horoscope, Professor Diana Bakalova, Dr. Diana Bakalova will walk you through what it means and what practical advice and steps to take in order to heal Pluto transit, difficult Pluto positions, because Pluto is the rapey planet after all. It's Hades, the god of the underworld, who took Persephone to kind of rape her a little bit, and mature her as a woman. So yes, Pluto is intense and dark, but it matures our deepest psychological transformations through us. So anyway, thank you, Diana, for being here with us, taking much of your precious time, especially when you have so many Saturn transits now. You're constantly not sleeping from work and duties. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thanks, Lada. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's late here. Still, I think that Pluto is more important than just going to bed. So, we have so much to say about Pluto. Uh, let's begin with
Well,
some important.
it's your specialty because Pluto is rules psychologist.
Of course, rules. It rules actually psychotherapy, because psychology is more general and psychotherapy, it rules the practice of psychology. So I think that we better begin with some
Yeah,
important.
just I
Yeah.
want to point out, guys, to
Mhm.
know that on the 7th of September, Diana Bacalba and me are doing a webinar on Chiron. There's not much information on Chiron, but she's worked with clients for 15, 20 years now, and she's observed it firsthand how Chiron works in our life. This is where we have a big wound psychologically, and she'll tell us in that webinar how to heal Chiron. It's beautiful information. It's information based on her own observations and practical advice on how not only to heal with that big wound that might be blocking progress in our life, but how to help others heal as well. So do join us. It's only $39 on the 7th of September. All about Chiron, I have put a link in the description, because that would be an amazing webinar. I don't know much about Chiron, so I want to learn as well. And Diana will be our guide through that journey. But anyway, let's begin with Pluto, because it's let's not take the light out of Pluto, the spotlight.
Okay, Lada, so let's begin with some important general information that will help us better understand the tips and remedies for Plutonian influences. Maybe that Pluto is the symbol of crisis and transformation, of decay and regeneration, of death and healing, of underground world and power behind the scenes, joint resources and wealth, of manipulation and power struggles, obsession and addictions, of in-depth resources and hidden aspects of life, investigation and psychotherapy, of occultism and mysticism. Pluto represents death and regeneration, both literally and symbolically. Because symbolic death means passing away of something from the past to be replaced by something new that is rebuilt from the old. Pluto's influences are much more collective and enduring than that of Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, for it is the slowest outer planet in the solar system.
When you say enduring, it means once it transforms something in our life, that's it. There's no going back. That's what you mean by enduring?
Yeah, yeah, and during, I mean also that it's longer than the influences of the other outer planets.
Okay, yes.
Longer influence of Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Well, it carries on for 2 years, 2, 3 years sometimes, one transit.
Yeah. So, for example, all people born from January 2008 until November 2024 have Pluto at different degrees in Capricorn. So you can imagine approximately 18 years are needed for Pluto to go through only one zodiac sign.
Yes.
That is then 2 degrees a year. So you can imagine how slowly it moves. What makes actually the position of Pluto individualized is not its sign so much as the house that it occupies and the house that it rules in one's natal chart, as well as the aspects that it forms to personal planets, the natal chart. For example, my natal Pluto is in the fifth house. Fifth house of romantic love, creative self-expression, children, entertainment. And it rules the sixth house of work, duties, daily responsibilities, and health. I usually relate my Pluto influences with this placement of Pluto by continuously studying and practicing psychology, psychotherapy, occult sciences, by a number of necessary surgical interventions. I have undergone 5 or even 6 until now, and by taking my creative self-expression and hobbies quite seriously. And how about
Okay,
you?
so you're not playing around. You have to take things seriously with your hobbies. Fifth Pluto in the fifth house.
Quite seriously. And how about you? Where is your Pluto? Natal Pluto.
Pluto is making opposition to my Sun, Mars, and Venus very close. So I'm very Plutonic, but I use my Pluto, first of all, with the occult astrology and mostly about reading about death. I'm obsessed with death. All my books are about life after death and about reading about Satanists and reading about pedophilia and reading about all these conspiracy theories. I'm obsessed with that as well. On the dark side, I don't want to live on the dark side, but I just know it exists. And when I heard those stories, I knew instinctively that, that those secret societies, they exist. And it's just all those confirmations started coming. And that's how it, and I'm obsessive and addictive. So Pluto is very powerful. It's in the 8th house for me. Plus, it's in the ninth sign from ascendant. So my belief systems are very Plutonic. But I'm also in the 8th house. It's all about conspiracy secrets anyway, and dark taboo things. So I'm very sweet on the surface, but all this darkness is underneath it. And I channel it by researching about that and trying to educate myself about this rather than dabbling in it.
Yeah, I can see that. And actually, it's very useful to go into the dark side of life, because when you're going deeper and deeper, you actually cope with your fears from the dark side. So it's not so bad. I mean, it's even good to be interested in death and obsession and
yes, because I'm so obsessive myself, unreasonable. I mean, over substances before, over people. I would be like, I could not do anything else, and I wondered, where does this come from? And you go to explore this dark side and understand it, so you don't fear it so much. And I've gained through research, deep digging and study, I've gained some awareness, even though it's very hard to gain control over those things. But I think confronting your demons, learning about them, somehow transmutes step by step by having control over them one day. Still not there, but
exactly, that's, I'll explain in a while, exactly that's how Pluto works. First, I think that it's important to know that no matter if we have a natal or a transiting Pluto in a certain house, its influence on the affairs ruled by that house will not be visible all the time.
Yeah.
But only when it is activated. And it is activated when transiting Pluto is moving forward or backward within plus minus 1 degree of the cusp of a certain house. It is also activated when transiting Pluto aspects another planet within approximately minus 2 plus 1 degree. And it is also activated when natal Pluto receives an aspect from another transiting or progress planet, or from a configuration of planets, including Mars and the Moon, because they are triggers.
Yeah, so even you might, when the moon for 2-3 hours, you can have obsessive episodes once a month, or a few times a month. It doesn't have to be 2 years that you feel Pluto, only Pluto transits. Out the small planets.
All life long, if you have a natal Pluto in some of your houses, it doesn't mean that all life long you experience these problems, but only when Pluto is activated. So activated natal and transiting Plutonian influences are considered actually the most powerful and profoundly transforming ones. Most of them are rather difficult to handle, especially in childhood, for they're about profound life crises and consequent life changes. Most people resist change, especially if changes are drastic and dramatic. Still similarly to the influences of the other outer planets, such as Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, the intensity and experience of Plutonian influences depend on our level of self-consciousness and self-awareness. The higher the level of our self-awareness and the more open and flexible we are to changes, the less traumatic and difficult our experiences with Pluto influences will be. With Pluto, we are meant to encounter subconscious aspects of ourselves and our past that we find unpleasant. This encounter is accompanied by experience of a wide range of strong and negative emotions, such as guilt, shame, anger, fear, which resurface from our past and which are really hard to handle. These emotions may result from having lost a loved one, from having been a victim of violence and the like. That's why Pluto emotions and wounds often go invisible to our consciousness.
For long periods.
Yeah, and that's why our first task is to get in touch with these emotions, to bring them to consciousness, and to experience them again, so as to unblock the suppressed psychic energy. And it is not very pleasant, of course. It's quite explicable, but that's how we feel reborn and take back control of our lives, because when we have activated Plutonian influence, we usually feel out of control.
I remember I have a friend with Venus square Pluto, and her biggest thing was extreme jealousy. I mean, she would hide her boyfriend, she would not introduce them to anyone, and her Venus is in the 8th house, Pluto house. And she said always this was the biggest thing, because someone cheated on her when she was 16 or 17, when they were supposed to get married. And ever since all the relationship, because of her Pluto square Venus, should not show it, but should get totally obsessively jealous for no reason, even without showing it. Should start trying to open their emails, to follow them, to read their messages. And then at the end, she got a relationship that, and usually there would be nothing, And at the end, there was a relationship that confirmed all her fears. She said the biggest thing that I learned was never to go searching for such things like that. To just leave it, and she's overcome it now. But it was through a very traumatic experience that she had to overcome it to stop, and she went through a lot of psychotherapy, actually. And so you can overcome difficult Pluto aspects, usually by reliving the crisis somehow. And she says, now I know never to go digging for secrets, never to go suspecting and stuff. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like I don't want to push it to happen, basically.
Yeah, actually, it's very common with Pluto square Venus aspects to have power struggles and obsessions and jealousy and love. So a Plutonian influence activated by transit often indicates an event or a person who transforms our life, either for good or for bad. Slowly transiting our houses, Pluto signifies the affairs of our lives that should be radically reconstructed. Change-resistant patterns should be destroyed first, so as to make a way to the new. We should not resist and prevent Plutonian crisis and transformation, but accept it instead, for it is a necessary stage for our individual growth. If we resist change, Pluto energies tend to build up until they become explosive, and then the changes may become even more disastrous. We would better go along with the Plutonian energies, let go of the old, and assist the process of renovation. And we can relive the experience of Plutonian crisis actually by practicing different remedies and tips. And here are some, I'll give you some first, some more general remedies for Plutonian influences, regardless of Pluto's placement and aspects. They can be applied for all aspects and position of Pluto in your natal chart or transiting Pluto. The first thing, of course, one should know is that similarly to Mars, Pluto's day is Tuesday. So we would better begin and practice any remedies for activated Plutonian influences on a waxing, or a growing moon.
Growing moon, yeah.
Growing moon, yes. Why Tuesday? Because, you know, Mars, Pluto is considered the higher octave of Mars.
Yes.
As Mars was the ancient ruler of Scorpio. And when Pluto was discovered, now it is thought to be the new ruler of Scorpio.
Yes, so we should do our remedies on Tuesday or start them.
Sorry?
We should do our remedies on Tuesday, start them on a growing moon on Tuesday.
Yeah, start them on a growing moon on Tuesday. And we are talking about activated Plutonian influence. Just before activation, it's the best time to start practicing any remedy. What is also very important to know that one of the best remedies for Pluto energies is individual and group psychotherapy. You can guess why, especially if natal and transiting Pluto is in the 4th, the 8th, or the 12th house.
Oh, like for me. Well, if you can't afford to do psychotherapy, what do you do?
Of course, you can do many other things. I'll tell you some of them. You can, for example, use aroma and flower therapy. You can say useful affirmations every day and every time when you feel the need to relieve Plutonian influences. And you can, of course, also practice visualizations by yourself. I mean, if you cannot afford yourself to go to psychotherapeutic sessions, you can use many other remedies and tips. For example, okay, I wanted to say a bit for the psychotherapy, because I think it's very important to know the process, how exactly it happens.
Yes.
You can get involved, for example, in a self-help group or in another therapeutic group. You can feel protected because you can feel protected there. You can share your deepest concerns, get in touch with your shadow side and emotions, and release them in a constructive way. You should keep in mind that it's never a short way to go with Plutonian influences, because negative emotions will certainly be intensified in the beginning, and you will feel even worse before healing actually occurs.
But you should know that it's a healing crisis, isn't it?
Sorry?
But you should know it's a healing crisis, actually.
healing crisis. That's why I mention it, because you should know that it's before it begins better, it should get worse first.
Oh.
And it is a common breakdown response in the process of recovery and transformation. It's not by chance. If you feel worse, the therapy works actually. And you have to be patient and consistent in your efforts to take back the sense of integrity and control over your life. It may take 2 years or even more. So you just have to be patient. Some other appropriate remedies for activated plutonium influence, maybe to write down some useful affirmations and repeat them anytime you do not feel very well during an activated plutonium influence. For example, for a transiting Pluto, activated Pluto in transit, you can write down and repeat, I accept the inevitable.
I accept the inevitable. Good, I have to write those down because I'm going into 5 years Pluto squares to all my planets.
So you can write down.
Yeah.
I accept the inevitable. I believe that when one door shuts, another one opens. It's you remember when we talked about Uranus, we also use this affirmation. Although they act in a different way, eventually one door may shut and another one may open.
At least with Uranus, you quickly see what it is. One shuts, one quickly opens. With Pluto, who knows, you know?
Yeah. And the transformation is really deeper. It's not only by the event, it's actually our whole being is transformed.
The event acts only as a trigger, I guess.
Yeah, it's only a trigger to understand and to get conscious about many emotions and things from your past. Another useful affirmation may be, I release the past in the name of a better future. So you should always remember that even if it's not your best time, your best days, the best days will come.
Okay, I released the past. I thought I've released the past, damn it. There must be much more dark things I don't remember.
Yeah.
Can it be like past life trauma?
Sorry?
Can it be past life trauma as well? That is being released.
I didn't get it. What kind of trauma?
Past life trauma.
Past life. Oh, who knows? Maybe. I've never been there, so it could be. Many astrologers think that it could be a past life trauma. Still, I prefer what is evidence-based.
Yes.
Yeah,
something that we can tangibly work with.
many people think that it could be. And if you need to relieve your guilt, or let's say your anger, or to relieve your grief, you can use some other useful affirmations and write them down. For example, for guilt, to relieve guilt, you can write down, my past experience is important as long as I learn from it. You can also write down, I feel love and compassion for myself and for my past experience. Whatever it is.
Instead of hating yourself.
Yeah, instead of hating yourself. Also, I forgive myself for all past wrongdoings, and I believe that I can do better from now on.
So when you're going through Pluto transit, you should just put them all over around yourself, those kind of stuff, like with little post-it notes, probably to see them.
Mm-hmm. And if you need to relieve your anger, you may write down and repeat, I assume the responsibility for my part in the conflict. I can keep calm and accept situations that I cannot change. I can forgive. You can write down here the name of the person who you forgive for their deeds. I can forgive, let's say, Lada for their deeds. And to relieve grief, that's really hard, maybe one of the hardest things to do. You can write down and repeat, I have the strength to mourn as much as I need.
Wow.
You can also,
these things are inevitable, yeah.
And you can also write down our love with the person lost. You should specify his name or her name is beyond death. Our love with
our love, okay,
beyond death. Then you can write down, I bless the one I lost. Again, you should specify the name and let them go for the better.
And that's not only physical death, that's also breakup.
Yeah, of course. It may be a symbolic. I told you that it can be both literal and symbolic death of something. It may not be a person. And you can also write down, my grief transforms me and brings new meaning into my life.
It is true. I've noticed that grieving makes you a better person. I don't know why. It's crazy, but it's
because
humbles you.
Psychologists usually say that crises are constructive processes. Constructive processes, after all. In crisis, the truth and many creative things are born.
Wow, I'm in for a ride. I just thought finally a good part of my life is starting. It seems like no. The worst is yet to come. Okay.
I think that the better is to come. And maybe
my life was so tough for so many years. I really hope it doesn't get.
People perceive the events according to their attitudes. I mean, if your attitude changes, you could perceive the event in quite a different way. And
yeah, I know, but if your child dies, if your husband dies, it's like, how do you perceive this on a higher level? I always think the worst. But anyway, I hope it doesn't have to be this.
Of course, sooner or later, all of us go away. And we should accept it. Maybe we may be younger or older, no matter, we should learn to live with death and with the crisis. And if we change our attitude to all these traumatic events, of course, when we are adults, because when we are children, it's much more difficult, of course, and we can't aware of many things. But if we are adults, we can change our attitude, and then we could grasp the world in a more philosophical way and feel much better, even when we meet the hardest reality. We can also wear clothes, another remedy. We can also wear clothes of the Pluto's colors. And these colors are black, blood red, and dark purple.
Okay. It's like the witches' colors, isn't it? The colors witches wear.
And you can also practice visualizations, as I told you. These are very helpful mind games where you can imagine how a situation or a problem is solved in a desirable way. For example, if you're angry with your boss, who usually takes the merit for your hard work, and if you would like to quit your job, because of that reason. You should first write down some helpful affirmations and repeat them, such as, I win respect and acknowledgement for my merit, and I and my boss respect each other. Then imagine how you tell your boss how unfair you find the situation, but in a nice and tactful manner. Imagine their positive response and how they praise you before all colleagues. You should feel much better after this exercise.
Interesting.
You can practice different visualizations. The most important thing about visualizations is to reformulate in your imagination the problem in a more positive perspective.
And when it exists vibrationally in your mind, it can manifest materially outside as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what is meant by the visualizations. You can change your attitude, and when you change your attitude, you change your perceptions of the world and the way you look at things. You can also try aroma and flower therapy, as I mentioned, but first make sure that you recognize your emotions, because maybe recognizing emotions is one of the most difficult things to do, and that's why psychotherapy is usually very helpful, because it helps you recognize first your emotions, and they may be so suppressed sometimes with activated Pluto that you may not be able to recognize them. But if you can recognize your emotions, for example, if you feel resentment, self-pity, and bitterness, you may apply willow therapy.
Willow
therapy is good for those who dominate others and who are aggressive and inflexible. Although you can imagine how someone says, I'm aggressive. It's usually not the case. There are a few people who would acknowledge and who would say that they are aggressive. So it's not so, I think.
You mean like people that are obsessed with control and power, a bit of psychopaths, sociopaths, or whatever, that are ruthless, that just want to control everything.
Oh, a psycho who says, I'm a psycho.
Sorry?
It's. Do you know people who are psychopaths and who say, I'm a psycho?
No, of course. Actually, they always say they're the best, they're the right, they know the best, they do the best. It's the opposite of that.
Exactly. That's one of the problems with the mental disorders. That for some mental disorders, people are not self-critical, so there is no way to know that you are disordered mentally. You can, but that's another long topic.
Yeah.
White chestnut can be employed against obsessive thoughts and sleeplessness.
Which one? Chestnut? White?
White chestnut.
White chestnut. Okay, obsessive thoughts.
Yeah. Chicory is good if you find yourself possessive, manipulating, overprotective, and controlling over your loved ones, or easily offended and self-pity.
Mm-hmm.
To overcome the feeling of hate, envy, jealousy, revenge, and suspicion, you may apply holy therapy.
Holy. Okay.
Yeah. Victims of violence who feel guilty, unworthy, and inferior, or somehow discouraged, can use larch or pine.
Large.
Larch.
Okay, large or pine. So basically, it seems like Pluto people when they're going through Pluto transits, there are two kind of types. Ones that are being the abused ones, that are the victims, that have given away their power and have been giving away their power, whether to obsessions, to addictions, to other people, to stronger. And the other ones that suffer the most are the ones that are the bullies, that take to power hungry or control freaks, as they call them, or at least have such tendencies. So the ones that want to ruthless and want to control all the time. The ones that in some way have power is a bit skewed. Either you're giving your power away or you're taking powers from others. So it seems like Pluto transits want to address that. Too much power or too little power. Or, so
and
to kind of balance it.
Yeah, and actually one and the same person could be the bully and the bullied.
Yeah, okay.
Because if he was bullied while in childhood, if they, not he, but it may be she, if they are bullied in their childhood, they may become violators later on. Or they may also become victims. They are more likely to become both.
And any such issues will come to the surface during a Pluto transit to deal with them. Because I've noticed people that are power hungry, Pluto comes around, it can destroy them because they have been ruthless. They want to control and stuff. And of course, they have good sides as well, but something happens to take their power away. When they felt too entitled, or when they felt like the opposite, that have been overpowered and that have given their power away, a powerful bully comes into their life or something like that when Pluto is around, and a situation that again takes their power, but they reclaim this power, while the power hungry ones that always try to be on top get humbled, and they learn not to try to control so much, not to try to control every situation or something like that. So it's kind of about balance of power in some way.
Yeah, we'll see now when we are talking about activated Pluto in the houses, where the issues of power and control come the most. And let's proceed with these tips.
Yes.
About an activated natal and transiting, both natal and transiting, Pluto in the houses.
Wonderful. So if you have Pluto transiting in a house and making aspects from there, Pluto will be activated. If you have a planet in that house and Pluto is transiting it as well, Pluto will be activated. If Pluto is transiting the cusp of that house within a degree, like you said, Pluto will be activated, not throughout the whole 14 years, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No way. With such a slow planet like Pluto, we cannot expect to have 14 years worries and violence or whatever. So, so don't worry.
Wonderful.
With activated Pluto in the first house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to Mars, our personality and appearance to the world is transformed. We tend to look very intensive, and we cannot help but strongly impress people around with our presence.
Nice.
Make them feel either strongly attracted or intimidated by our energy.
So they hate you or love you?
Yeah, they hate you or love you. Yet our appearance usually contradicts, which is very important, our strong inner fear of being overpowered, underappreciated, and rejected. So there is a contradiction between the way we look and what we feel inside, deep inside. And our behavior to others is often determined and defensive, which usually breeds intrigues and intrusion into privacy. Fortunately, we are able to gradually understand and transform many aspects of ourselves because with this placement of Pluto, we are become very interested in the hidden aspects of life and the hidden side of life. And my tips here for activated Pluto in the first house.
Oh, Pluto transit Mars.
Sorry?
Or Pluto transit to aspect Mars as well.
Yeah, yeah. You should try to get in touch with those fears and subconscious drives that have shaped your personality in order to gain better control over them. Instead of trying to control everybody and everything around, you see here comes the issue of control. Better try to exercise control over your fears and self-defensive behavior.
Oh, that's clever. Because you can't
Yeah.
control everything and everyone, but you can control those fears and those behaviors. Yeah.
Also, try to become aware and handle your fears by purposeful exposure to situations in which you can be rejected, overpowered, or underappreciated.
So kind of go and tease the dragon.
Observe if it is as bad as you have been imagined in advance, and reflect on how you feel about it. So you should recognize your emotions.
It's probably never as how you probably made it much bigger in your mind than what you experience in reality.
Yeah, it's usually the case.
And it probably starts giving you a sense of power, and that's why you keep going there and putting your hand in the wound, because you're like, it's not so scary as I thought.
It's
and
not
you keep testing yourself more and more.
Of course, you should not choose very risky situations. You should choose situations, for example, you can go and, let's say, talk to someone who you believe that does not respect you very much. And see how you feel, because you may feel underappreciated and rejected by this person, but actually you may see that it's not so intimidating and not so scary, and that actually this person does not reject you. So you should go against your fears.
Yeah, so if you're afraid of terrorism, you don't go and join the the army to fight terrorists. You maybe make friends with people from that country that say, if you're afraid of Muslims or terrorists, and see that they're good, kind people or something like that.
Yeah. You can also turn to psychotherapy with the activated Pluto in the first house, to occult, metaphysical, and spiritual studies that can help you raise your self-awareness. Expanding your self-understanding and consciousness will enable you project a new and more authentic and better image to the world. It will make your, not image, but personality, because your personality will grow better. Yes. And it will make your relationships with others far more open and rewarding. If you're driven by purely egoistic motivation, Pluto will also require you to become less self-interested and to act to the benefit of other people too. It's very important. Pluto does not like egoism. And some astrologers would say that with an activated Pluto in the first house, it would be helpful if you undergo a plastic surgical procedure to change your appearance, or exercise heavily, some heavy sport. But I'm not sure it's very helpful. But you can give it a try.
It's
if
not
nothing else works out.
Sport, it gives you a sense of power.
Yeah. Actually, it gives you a sense of power. And actually, if you have a Pluto, natal Pluto in the first house, and aspects of Mars and Pluto, you should be very sporty, athletic, and you should have much energy. That you'd better, of course, spend in some kind of exercise.
Yeah, I've noticed Pluto Mars people, they can do feats of like even if at moments they feel like they can't do anything and block, because there are such moments, but at certain period in their life when this Pluto's Mars is activated, they can overcome things that no one else can, that require so much willpower. Some of them have even gone to do Ironman, run marathons, overcome cancer, like really things that require a lot of willpower. They can do that. Pluto Mars is extraordinary. Being able to face things that are extraordinary, require extraordinary strength.
And let's talk about activated Pluto in the second house. Similarly, that is similar to Pluto in an aspect to Venus, and that strongly affects our earned income and possessions, values, and self-worth, which are the issues of the affairs of the second house. We may have a strong desire to obtain money and possessions and control over them due to our deep-seated fear of insecurity and poverty. Although unconsciously, we may cling to on money and possessions to compensate for our low self-esteem and for the lack of emotional security in our lives, which means lack of love in our lives.
Also, we try to compensate by acquiring stuff.
Very often with Pluto in the second house. Hence, we are meant to experience crisis and complete transformation of our income, sources of income and values in life to get in touch with our true inner needs. For example, if we attach sentimental value to our possessions and find it hard to let go of business, money, and things, we are likely to experience a huge loss. So as to completely change our understanding of tangibles and intangibles in life. As a result, we may no longer prioritize material values. This position of Pluto is usually related to high economic standing and wealth due to our strong, great earning capacity and very strong ambitions in life.
Okay, so it can turn your situation financially, it can make you lose all your money or something, but at the same time, it can make you very rich, you say.
Yeah, usually most of the billionaires in the world, I cannot say most, but many of the billionaires in the world have Pluto in their second house because they go to the bottom and they go to they fly in the sky.
Okay.
Not be in the middle with Pluto. You're always either on the bottom or in the sky.
So you might have lost. So those people go through big bankruptcies, but they can also, and during that's what I've noticed, second house Pluto, you can't really say, I've seen people like become millionaires during a Pluto transit in the second house, and I've seen people lose everything and then not become millionaires again as well. So
they go bankrupt. Some years later, they can get rich again. Many people, even they have bankrupt it before.
Yeah.
My tips here with the activated Pluto and the second house is to open up and go with the flow of the transformation on both material and psychological levels. For it means, for it is meant to bring out your true needs and values. So wait for them to crystallize in your mind. Use the crisis time to get to know yourself better, and you will certainly strengthen your inner security and peace in the long run. Ask yourself the following questions. What do I need to feel really confident and peaceful with myself? How much of that do I need to feel confident? Do I really need that much from the outer world to feel in peace with myself? And what else could make me feel so confident and peaceful with myself? When you answer these questions, they will help you understand that your inner security and self-confidence has little to do, if anything, with your objective economic standing.
Well, say this to the billionaires.
Yeah, no matter how much you earn and how much control you have on money and property in the outer world, you will never feel secure and satisfied with yourself if you do not strengthen your self-confidence and inner security and inner values. So work on that continuously. To remediate this influence, you can also totally change your source of income. Find a Plutonian source of income or get involved in a Plutonian activity, such as, for example, doing research work and investigations, let's say criminal, psychological research, mining, also some geological work.
Archaeological, digging.
Also, you can do occult and metaphysical studies, psychotherapeutic sessions, go visit or practice or study psychotherapy. You can get involved in reform movements, in heavy sports and the like.
Okay, so reform movements are Plutonian. So okay.
Yeah, reform movements are also Plutonian.
Or you can invest in, in petrol. No.
Yeah, invest in petrol. Yes, of course, you can do it if you have
Yes.
if you have this capacity, earning capacity, and financial ability. With activated Pluto in the third house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to Mercury, our communications, immediate environment, relatives and neighbors, business dealings, planning, and short trips, or all affairs of the third house may be strongly affected. Also, our way of thinking and daily interactions tend to become more intensive, heavy, and serious. Huge changes tend to occur in our immediate environment, and they strongly affect our way of thinking and interactions with other people. Superficial speculations and explanations do not fit any longer. We are forced to question and re-examine many ideas, opinions, beliefs, and plans that we have previously taken for granted. At that time, we are less suggestible to others' experience.
We're what? Less?
Less suggestible.
Okay, so people can't suggest easy to us. We don't easily get impressionable.
They can hardly suggest us, and we can hardly take their opinion for granted. We tend to be self-taught, learning through own experience and observation.
Oh, absolutely. I had Pluto square Mercury, and first of all, I got very obsessive thoughts. They would be on a loop going in my head, and I thought I was going a bit mad, to be honest, because you can't stop them, yeah. But I was watching a lot of criminal documentaries. That was one of the things, like serial killers and crime investigation, and I had a lot of trolls because I was just starting astrology, and they were like bullying me on the internet, cyber bullies. You know, Mercury, words, internet. And I had to learn to accept that. And rather than fight it, I stopped answering. And you realize that when you stop answering, they leave you alone. Like you don't get engaged in that game. It's one of the biggest lessons I learned as well. And everything, all the skills, because Mercury rules skills, I had to learn on my own. Like I had to go research, study. And as you said, like, yeah, you have to do on your own, learn on your own. That's the only experience I have with Pluto. So.
Yeah, you are not willing to take experiences from other people and prefer to learn yourself. And if your past experiences have been generally negative, you are prone to catastrophic thinking, depression, and anxiety.
Yes, that happened as well.
And vice versa. If you get a positive experience, you should be more, you are more optimistic, and even you can neglect some negative patterns and plans and everything. Although we tend to be very persuasive and decisive with written and spoken words, we tend to choose our words very carefully because we fear letting others know much about us.
That makes sense.
Remember that this influence can be quite beneficial for business negotiations and dealings, actually. My tips here for activated Pluto in the third house is to make sure that you become aware of the grounds of any recurrent, obsessive, and negative thoughts that come to your mind. And you can do it. It's an interesting exercise. You can do it by testing these negative thoughts against reality, and hence reformulating them in a new and a more positive perspective. For example, if you think that you're a top loser.
A what?
Top loser. You think of yourself, for example.
A loser. Okay, yeah.
Yes. Score 10 on a 10-point scale, ranging from 1, a top achiever, to 10, top loser. Write down all those situations in which you perceived yourself as a top loser and all people who think that you're a top loser. Speculate about what made you think about yourself as a top loser. If all mentioned situations and people do not support the 10th score. think about similar opinions and situations for other people you know well, and then try to reevaluate your self-perception as a loser on the 10-point scale.
Yeah.
Also avoid dwelling on catastrophic thoughts by practicing mindfulness. You maybe have heard about mindfulness. It should be popular where you live now. About yoga, you can also practice yoga, meditation, visualizations, or consult a cognitive behavioral therapist.
Yeah, that's very hard. I got obsessed then that
Even
Nibiru will come and destroy the earth, and I was like, what's the point of even doing anything? I was totally certain that we're gonna have a huge catastrophe now. All I thought about was death and I was like, why am I even doing this business in astrology? It's all gonna finish anyway, any moment. And I was every time like all those videos on YouTube would come and say Nibiru is coming, it's gonna crash into the earth in next month, and I'd call my friends. I'm like, don't be close to the oceans. I didn't even go to the sea that year because I was expecting Nibiru to crash. Oh my god, yes, it can get unreasonable. I did. But it was very empowering period as well because my business went great.
Catastrophic thinking. Also, you should learn to focus on your breath and bodily sensations so as to inhibit the flow of repetitive negative thoughts. It's also a good exercise.
Mindfulness, yeah.
You should stop judging yourself and other people, but just let them be. These are very popular exercises from the mindfulness. If you know what mindfulness is, and it's very popular in around the world these days. You should also make sure that you infuse more fun and excitement in your daily life, and be more open to other opinions and experiences, and guard against imposing your opinion and ideas on other people. You can also study a new discipline related to psychotherapy, the occult, yoga, meditation. You can also write a criminal or psychotherapeutic novel or book, change your immediate scene and environment, and travel over short distances to new destinations.
I was doing all this. Everything that you said, it was part of my day.
Yeah. And with activated Pluto in the fourth house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to the moon, you should transform your most personal life, psyche, and innermost needs, roots of life, parents, home, and family life. All the affairs of the fourth house. This is among the most difficult natal and transiting Plutonian influences. One or both of your parents, especially the mother, might have been obsessive, overprotective, secretive, physically or psychologically ill or abusive in some way, with natal Pluto in the fourth house. Otherwise, our family might have experienced a deep crisis due to some traumatic event that had totally destroyed and transformed our home and family life. Huge changes and repairs of the home are often with this influence, including extensive repairs, separation, divorce, and even death. With transiting Pluto, some negative experiences and fears from childhood tend to re-emerge, and we begin to understand their consequences in our adult lives. That's why my tips here are that you have to make fundamental changes in your life and get rid of all those biased and childish fears, attitudes, and beliefs that hinder your life satisfaction and further your personal growth. As fundamental.
And it's usually some trauma in childhood that happened that brings those fears, but you were unable to cope with it as a child, and it resurfaces again later on.
It's almost impossible to handle all these traumatic events as a child, so they reemerge just to handle them and to get out. They should just get out of your life. That's why they reemerge later, and to enable you unblock all this suppressed energy because this suppressed energy is due exactly to those traumatic events from your past. As fundamental changes are very intimidating to most people, it is a good time to consult a psychotherapist. One of the best times to consult a psychotherapist is with activated Pluto in the 4th house. It will be very helpful to facilitate the process and the outcomes of these changes. You can also make extensive repairs to your home. You can move to live and work abroad in a country or place that is different from your country of origin. You should also try to become independent of your parents, especially of your mother, if you're a dependent on her, and move to live away from your parents. You can get divorced, of course, if you're an adult. Don't move away from your parents if you're a child. Of course, you can get divorced.
Divorced?
Marital relationship is not going well, or try to introduce some new order to your home and family life. Solving any unsolved issues with a parent, especially with your mother, will certainly enhance your life satisfaction and family life with activated Pluto in the 4th house. And now about the activated Pluto in the 5th house, where my natal Pluto is found. It transforms our creative self-expression, romantic life, children, entertainment, and recreational activities. We tend to invest much ego, drive, and passion into the 5th house affairs of life, and we certainly avoid superficial experiences. We should feel proud of everything we produce with this placement. Yet, we have deep-seated fears in these life domains. Jealousy, fear of loss, failure, and betrayal usually accompany our romantic involvements, creative endeavors, and child rearing. Our romantic experiences tend to be very intensive, and it is usually all or nothing for us in love.
Is that why you scare men away?
Yeah, you can scare anyone away. We tend to undergo deep crises and transformations through romantic love, through children, creative recreational activities in our life. For example, we tend to attract or be attracted to lovers with much Plutonian energy.
Secretive.
Sorry?
Secretive.
Yeah, secretive, obsessive, controlling, passionate, manipulative, protective, and even criminal. They may be even criminal.
I had Pluto transit my Mercury, but Mercury rules the 5th house. All of this happened at the same time. And I was totally obsessed with that person. And at the same time, like, I couldn't figure them out because of the Scorpio control, that they were very tightly controlled themselves. It was, I was going bonkers.
Yeah. We may also be quite obsessive and heavy in our love affairs, not only our partners. And activated transit in Pluto in the 5th house usually indicates a fated period with our children as well.
A what period? A heavy.
Fated.
Fated. Fated.
Yes. And fated children with our period with our children, with our lovers, with our hobbies, either for good or for bad. And my tips here are to get prepared for very intensive experiences with children and lovers, to avoid being overprotective, abusive, and manipulative with your children and lovers, as it will not do them any good in the long run. Make sure, and you, not only them, nobody would feel very well with this. Make sure your lovers are not manipulative and abusive. Generally, you should avoid any power struggles with your children and lovers. Try not to get involved into love affairs that you intuitively know that are not good for you.
But that's what exactly a person usually does. Pluto is there or transits there. I mean, that's exactly what you should not do. That's exactly what a person does.
Yeah, that's exactly. And that's why you should be aware of what might happen, so you could prevent it in case you could. Otherwise, there are other remedies. You should avoid any involvement in risky sports, gambling, speculations that may be risky to your life in some way. You'd better focus your attention on some kind of constructive activity, such as artistic work, creative hobbies, daily exercise, and creative recreation. Otherwise, you tend to get into huge trouble.
You can gamble everything away in some obsessive way.
That's true. And that's why the most important thing is to find an appropriate outlet for these powerful energies. And the appropriate outlet are some constructive and creative activities instead of some destructive activities. So there is always a way to really
draw erotic art, for example.
Let's say you can do that. And with activated Pluto in the 6th house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to Mercury, our daily work, duties, daily routine, health, and diet are transformed. We tend to overdo things in all these areas, and hence we usually suffer breakdowns and overall transformation. For example, we may acquire or quit unhealthy daily habits. We may change jobs too often or become a workaholic or a drug addict, experience burnout or suffer some kind of anxiety, phobia, eating disorders, and the like. Or we may completely recover from any of these.
Oh, so it's all or nothing. You either go do all those bad habits, or you transform your bad habits into good ones.
Mm-hmm. So again, you can see extremes. With Pluto, there are always extremes. You can recover completely, or you can be brought down totally. Well, my tips here are to pay special attention to your health and to the signals of stress and overstrain coming from your body. You should take care of any physical condition that you have ignored for years. Make sure you have rest anytime when you feel stressed, dizzy, or exhausted. Try to quit a bad habit, such as smoking, drinking, and try to adopt a healthy physical regimen. Avoid any drugs, food, and stuff that are risky for your body. Be careful with any diets that are not suited, especially for your individual needs, and that are not evidence-based, or they can result in a physical breakdown. Practice also yoga, meditation, mindfulness, or any other healing, physical and spiritual body culture. Try to handle constructively any conflicts with your bosses and colleagues at work, or you may need to change job. Become aware of your fears of criticism, of your perfectionist, paranoid, hypochondriac, and workaholic tendencies, and work on handling them. Keep in mind that it may take a long time until you find a proper occupation with activated Pluto in the 6th house. A good remedy is to find a job that is related to some kind of innovation, health and healing, physical therapies or psychotherapy, research and innovation, police investigations, or some secret projects, for example. And with activated Pluto in the 7th house, similar to Pluto in an aspect to Venus and Pluto opposition ascendant, although Pluto opposition ascendant and conjunct descendant is even stronger, activated Pluto in the 7th house transforms our long-lasting, intimate, and business one-to-one relationships with peers, such as business partners, lawyers, physicians, and other consultants. Our lives may be totally changed by a close relationship, or our lasting relationships go through deep crisis and transformation, including separation, divorce, or even death. Power struggles in relationships due to fear both of intimacy and losing control over yourself and your partner are common with this placement of Pluto. It brings it tends to bring out the basic instincts and fears in us and in the partner. We tend to be both drawn to and resistant to our close partners.
Oh, so I love you, I hate you scenario.
Yeah, yeah. Because I am both fearful and both at the same time fearful and at the same time very attracted to my
That's I've
partner.
seen obsessive relationships happen then as well, but very transformative at the same time.
Yeah, and we are usually attracted to and attract similar partners who are emotionally intense, quite jealous and possessive, for they fear that they will reject or betray them. We may either feel trapped in a difficult relationship or have hard times finding the intimacy that we crave with this activated Pluto in the seventh house. My tips here are to avoid marriage while Pluto is transiting your seventh house.
Ooh, for 14 years?
You can of course you can marry, but you cannot expect it to be a quiet and peaceful marriage.
Okay, it will be daggers and
We have many frictions and conflicts, arguments, and so on. But there are, of course, ways to remedy them, and especially if you are aware of what might happen. Do not grasp yourself just as a victim in your personal relationships, but try to get in touch with your basic fears and understand how they work to disturb your close relationships. Become aware that you are inclined to project your own fears and obsessions on your partner. For example, you may be jealous of your partner, not because of their unfaithfulness, but because of your own strong fear of being rejected and of losing control over your partner.
or because you yourself are cheating or have such tendencies.
Or because you yourself you're cheating. Exactly this projection may eventually lead you to justify your fears by being rejected or by losing control over your partner, or to defend yourself by cheating to your partner.
So basically your fears manifest because you, out of fears, you made it happen.
Yeah, you make them happen exactly because of this mechanism, because you want to defend yourself, and you say, I'll cheat because I think she cheats, so
Yeah.
I also cheat, or because you're fearful that you lose control, you actually lose control because you cannot control with this projection over your partner. And you also should try to raise your self-awareness and should be able to find inner peace and peace with your intimate and business partners. You can remediate this influence, for example, by consulting a therapist, psychotherapist, or physician on a regular basis. They can help you transform your life in a more in a softer way. I mean, if you go to a psychotherapist, a family therapist, if you and your partner go together, you can really solve more softly. Mm-hmm. And you can also try to find a partner with an emphasized Plutonian qualities, with activated Pluto in the
so Scorpio.
Yeah.
Pluto in the first house, man or woman or something.
Yeah, or on the Pluto conjunct ascendant, or Moon in Scorpio also.
Yes.
Or a partner, you can find a partner who is involved in a kind of Plutonian activity related to some kind of regeneration or renovation, healing and health, physical therapies or psychotherapy, research and innovation, police work or secret projects, as I have already mentioned before. Also, you should avoid any power struggles with enemies, for you may face underhanded and very mean tactics with activated Pluto in the seventh house.
Okay, so the enemies will be, or like the people you're in conflict with can be very underhanded and mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And treacherous.
Yeah. And with activated Pluto in the 8th house, Pluto feels at home, as it is the house that Pluto naturally rules. Still, this placement usually transforms our attitudes and circumstances related to all 8th house issues, or some of the 8th house issues, such as crisis and transformation, death and rebirth, joint finances and property, sex and intimacy and obsession, power and power struggles, violence and trauma, and the like. And the symbolic or literal death and regeneration of people and things around us should strongly influence our lives. We tend to be highly concerned with existential issues such as the meaning of life at that time. We may be strongly attracted to all deep, hidden, and dark aspects of life, and we may get involved in therapeutic, metaphysical, or and occult studies and practices related to the mysteries of life and death.
So I'm doing everything right already with my Pluto in the 8th.
Your Pluto in the 8th now.
Well,
right?
No, by birth. But like everything that you say, I'm already like studying and learning and involved with.
And my Pluto is transiting the 8th house right now. The 8th house. And our circumstances may also be radically changed due to a loan, inheritance, or due to joint finances with a spouse or a business partner. And my tips here are to get the most of this influence and feel satisfied with your life. To get the most of this influence and to feel satisfied with your life, you should not seek just for superficial answers, but you should get to the bottom of all things. Any healing profession, in-depth therapy, occult sciences and practices would be helpful to relieve this placement of Pluto. Just make sure that you are not getting so obsessed with any idea and people as to lose grasp of reality.
Yeah. Sounds familiar to me. When I barricaded myself at home for 3 months because I thought the avian flu will kill us all. Another catastrophic expectation.
And you should also avoid borrowing money and going into debt, for you may become dependent on other people with activated Pluto in the 8th house.
Oh, no way.
Try to avoid too intense and complicated sexual affairs, for they can make you obsessed and abusive or abused by a partner. Yeah, that's often. And with activated Pluto in the 9th house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to Jupiter, indicates that our beliefs and view of the world will be considerably changed, and our understanding and wisdom will be deepened. This placement of Pluto should be less difficult to handle, and we can become better and wiser human beings with such placement. My tips here are to try to learn as much as possible with this placement of Pluto, for it will be very useful in the long run. You should guard against getting obsessed with any one ideology. You should try to adopt a diversity of views and see the big picture of the world around.
Otherwise, you can become bigoted, like a bigoted religious fanatic or something.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can. So you can, but you can turn to law, religion, and mystical and occult studies, to other cultures and international affairs. And exactly one of the best remedies to avoid getting obsessed by anything, by any one ideology, is to learn many other ideologies, to know about many other views, opinions about the world, because the more you know, the better, the less likely you are to get obsessed with any particular idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so You can also teach with this placement. You can also teach on a mass scale by becoming a teacher, a lecturer, or a guru, even coach. You can travel to other countries and move to work and live to another country, and it will certainly transform your life if you do it. If you travel and move to work and live to another country when your Pluto in the ninth house is activated. Yet, do not limit your experience to only one culture and religion. As
okay, so again, you can become.
Yeah. And you will certainly become more successful in persuading others, but make sure you are tolerant to other people's opinions. Yes. Avoid manipulating people and imposing your point of view on others for purely egoistical motivation. You can do it if it's to them, if it's beneficial to them, but not if you're egoistical and want and would like to manipulate them. Otherwise, you should guard against conflicts with others and difficulties with the law. Even remember that Pluto here requires you to act to the benefit of many people. For example, you can get involved in a group of people that want to transform society to the better. It will be a good remedy for Pluto.
Kind of some ideology that wants to transform, some belief system, ideology, group of people that want to do something on the collective level.
To transform society to the better. And with activated Pluto in the 10th house, to Pluto in an aspect to Saturn, our life goals, career, reputation, and authority figures in our life are strongly affected. It is one of the most important positions of natal and transiting Pluto. If we already know who we are and what we want from life, this influence can make us very successful. And if we are not aware of ourselves, this influence will certainly help us out, but not in the most pleasant way. For example, we can often change career paths until we find out what we really want to do with our lives. My tips here are to use this influence to gain better knowledge of yourself and of your life goals, including your career plans. If you fear changing your career path and life goals, but if you still intuitively guess that you should make some changes, or if you feel lost, you would better do it because you have the ambitions and the power to do it with the activated Pluto in the 10th house. Although breakdown crisis is inevitable on the road to success, your personality and career should prosper in the long run. Do not be in a hurry. Still, take all the time you need for introspection to find yourself. On your way to success, do not forget to observe the moral code of conduct required by Pluto. Never take shortcuts nor act from purely egoistical interests. Otherwise, your ill-intended ambitions will face great opposition from people who may easily bring you down.
Yeah, I remember a client was having Pluto transit in the midheaven, and for 2-3 years she had a boss that bullied her really badly, like singled her out and bullied her psychologically. She was breaking down. What do you do then? Do you fight back? Do you quit your job?
Yeah. Actually, with this placement of Pluto, you would not like any subordinate position, and you would you would prefer to take the lead. And actually, you should take the lead with such placement of Pluto, so as to feel satisfied your life.
So maybe that's why she was being bullied, so she can finally take on a more autonomous path career-wise.
Yeah, you can take more autonomous. Yeah, you should be. You should be the leader, so you should be. You should work for yourself. Actually,
so it was trying. This situation was trying to put her out of her comfort zone, so she can quit this job and Yeah, okay, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you should be able to contribute to change the public order and rules with such a placement of activated Pluto. And you should work to the benefit of many people. To find your way in life, you should also understand and reflect on issues from the past related to your father, such
Uh-huh.
as history, personality, occupation, and the nature of your relationship. If your relationship with your father has been healthy, and if you have had mostly positive experiences together, you are most likely to succeed. And
To feel very empowered, yeah, and succeed, yeah.
yeah, even if your relationship has not been so good, you are likely to succeed, but in not in the most pleasant ways. Yeah, of course, it's never the case with Pluto. It's never easy. But if your relationship was healthy, you're more likely to succeed. More easy. I mean,
In
less.
Korea, yeah, in achievements in Korea.
Pluto in the 11th house, that is similar to Pluto in an aspect to Uranus. You are meant to transform your friendships, the informal groups of people that you're involved in, your future hopes, plans, goals, and dreams. You are no longer satisfied with casual plans and associations with people because you are seeking intense experiences and contacts that can transform your life and long range goals. Hence, some of your encounters and associations may not be very pleasant, but certainly contribute to your personal growth and self understanding.
I remember when Pluto was transiting my 11th house, I had a lot of friends that were criminal. They were
Yeah,
literally, like dealing with like doing some scams or working in the underground or something like that, something taboo or forbidden. And I found those people fascinating. I couldn't stand normal everyday people. I wanted to be surrounded by those very interesting, very people.
that's why my tips here are to avoid associations with people just because they are powerful, persuasive, interesting, and because they can take you to dangerous directions and inappropriate decisions for
Oh
your future.
yeah. Oh yeah. So much.
Yeah, and to avoid falling under the influence of danger of people, you should have already developed a strong system of moral values. Otherwise, you're really in a risky situation.
Yeah, that's what happened. I was led astray and into drugs and whatnot, into all the wrong things.
Yeah, that's why you would better first get involved in a group for personal growth, change, and healing uh, before getting in a group that may just take you to some dangerous directions.
Hmm.
For example, with drugs or something. Um, then also you can go get involved in a group or a political party or movement for social reform, but make sure that the planned reform is constructive and beneficial to most people, but not only to some people who are self-interested.
Yeah, like someone who joins secret society and to
Mhm.
kind of to manipulate society on the whole and people.
You can also you can also develop a successful and revolutionary business projects in the field of IT, research and innovation, marketing, advertising, and the like, while activated Pluto is in the 11th house. You have this possibility, and if you have the ability, it would be great. And with activated Pluto in the 12th house, similarly to Pluto in an aspect to Neptune, your conscious, the hidden resources and the shadow side of our personality is strongly affected. It is meant to clear away unconscious and automatic behaviors related and suppressed, and the related suppressed negative emotions, such as anger, fear, guilt from our past. The influence is clearly this influence is clearly psychological, and it is usually manifested through compulsive behaviors, which we are used to, but which turn out quite problematic at the time of activated Pluto in the 12th house. Similarly to Pluto in the 4th house, we feel forced to uncover and confront these unconscious patterns and the related negative emotions. This process is not easy and pleasant at all, for we have to face our buried bad side. Still, it is inevitable and necessary for further personal growth as adult, free of subconscious and childish patterns of behavior.
I totally relate, because Pluto's been transiting my 12th house, and some kind of very overpowering behaviors resurface from time to time that I have no control over, and I'm trying to understand why. How do you understand why? Because it's hidden. How do you do it through psychology or what? Psychotherapy?
Why?
Sorry?
You asked me how to understand why.
Because they're hidden. It's 12th house. I don't understand of certain compulsive urges and stuff and they've been prevalent a lot since Pluto is in the 12th, and I don't understand how to uncover them. I read and I research, and still I can understand it logically, but in my mind, but you need to feel it here. I don't know. It's
actually, most of the wounds and traumatic event, what has happened in the past and has been suppressed in some way. Actually, it's healed under the surface. I mean, at the subconscious level, without even we understand why and how. It just happens when we try to bring out our suppressed emotions. And that's why I strongly recommend psychotherapy with all positions of Pluto. I think that it's the best remedy for all positions and activated Pluto's influences. It is even more strongly recommended when we talk about the 4th, the 8th, and 12th houses, when the Pluto is activated in these houses. Because there is usually no way to know what happens and how it happens. It just happens. It happens beneath of our consciousness. Usually.
So we can't really control that process much or direct it.
We can control this process by usually by the help of a psychotherapist.
Because those hidden houses, you can't figure them out yourself, so someone helps you do that.
Yeah, someone should help you do that, and he should be professional, because you'd better be in a protected environment while you do this.
Okay, so I'm calling you next year and we're starting. Can you be I'm calling you next year and we're starting this, because my Pluto transits from the 12th are starting.
Yeah, usually something happens from the outside world. I mean, some event or a person or something that brings all these things to your conscious. I mean, it's not always that they are subconscious. I mean, something happens if they are subconscious. They reemerge in some way. Even if some compulsive patterns reemerge, you'll wonder why.
Yes.
It's not, they reemerge in such a way that you'll ask, why do they reemerge? So you become somehow conscious that they reemerge in some way. And you'll asking questions, you'll go deeper and deeper and may go to the bottom of things. And usually, because you cannot just handle these compulsive and automatic patterns yourself, you'll search for someone else, for a professional or for a specialist, or for you'll consult someone. Otherwise, you may just repeat them over and over again. And it's not, yeah, of course, you can do it all your life long. But then you can transfer this karma to your children, and they may have to handle all of your automatic, most of your automatic fears and unconscious behavior, if you are not able to handle them yourself.
Wow.
So you work on this.
So my husband's Pluto is entering his 4th house next year, and mine is in the 12th. We need mutual counseling.
You both of you can go to psychotherapy.
To you, we'll come to you.
Yeah, you can. But I'm not a family therapist. You'd better go maybe, or you can, of course, you can visit individual therapy and find also a family therapist. But hopefully you'll not need a family therapist.
No, hopefully individual. Hope it never gets to that.
You can go only to individual therapy. So any one of you can get involved in some group, a psychotherapeutic group or a self-care group or something, if you, of course, have these problems. Because Alada, you can you may be on such a high level of self-consciousness that you may not need this. Maybe you're so self-aware.
Maybe someone is, yeah. I can't say I'm.
Maybe you don't need to uncover anything else. Maybe all of the stuff from the past is has already reemerged, and you have handled it.
Yeah, and you're a saint, of course. That's the only time it has all reemerged and you've handled it.
Yeah. And I forgot also already that we talked about the activated Pluto in the 12th house. That time spent alone and in introspection and night dreams should feel very liberating and transformative.
You know, I'm in my dreams since Pluto went there for the past 7-8 years. All my anger comes out in my dreams, and I'm kind of all my fears. Nothing big is happening in my life around that I fear, but it's like it's happening in my dreams, and I relive all those, all those things that I'm upset. And from childhood in particular, I keep dreaming those things from childhood. It seems because 12th house is sleeping, isn't it? It's dreaming as well.
And that's great, because that's how you experience your catharsis, and that's how you free yourself of this anger thing. And
Yeah, not only anger, like anything that I've been afraid of, I dream it. And
yeah.
anything that has happened, it's crazy, but my dreams are crazy. I hope it stays in the dreams.
And my tips here about the activated Pluto in the 12th house are to study and practice, as I already mentioned, a psychotherapist. You can also consult, study and practice analytical psychology, in-depth analysis, psychoanalysis, analysis of dreams, and free associations. And all of them are strongly recommended with this placement of Pluto. Time spent alone should be combined with socializing and having fun to keep in touch with reality, but not get lost in your own imaginary world. Otherwise, with transiting Pluto in the 12th house, you are likely to get isolated. So you should try to go out much, socialize, and mirror yourself in other people. You should also get ready to confront all unpleasant and hidden aspects of yourself and of your past, but you should not avoid them by escapist tendencies and addictions that are common with this placement of Pluto. For you may be tempted to choose the way of least resistance at that time. Remember that nobody is perfect and has their dragons from the past. Try to get in touch with these dragons so as to liberate the blocked psychic energy that controls you. And that is how you will take back control of your life again and feel reborn for a new and exciting life in peace with yourself. if you manage to handle this energy for yourself, you can help and heal many other people too.
Oh, oh. 6 more years of this nightmare.
I think that it would be really easy for you, not so difficult at least, because when one is more aware and conscious, and have realized most of his past wounds, traumas, and everything, of course, you should overcome it really easier than many other people.
I hope so. And astrology helps as well, and all those tips help as well. So
hopefully, they will be helpful to many people. Let's see. I'm waiting for the feedback.
yes, guys, leave feedback below. Say what your experiences were during your Pluto transits and current Pluto transits in houses, so Pluto positions by birth, and how you're coping with that and what you've learned from it, and what has helped you overcome this shadow side, as we call it, Pluto. How do you take your power back? How do you empower yourself after that? What lessons do you take from that? And Diana has given us such a great expose. Took almost 2 hours. Thank you for taking of your time to do this for us with your experience, long psychology experience to help us, because Pluto is the most psychological planet anyway. And guys, don't miss the 7th of September, all about Chiron. Or if you can't be present, of course, you'll get the recording, and you can send emails to ask us questions in regards to your Chiron. So yes, check it out. It's for now, it's only $39. After that, it goes up after the 7th of September. So thank you so much, Diana, for being here, for your amazing insight. Sorry for rushing you through all the houses. Diana wanted to do this in 2 installments, but it's like there's never enough time for interviews. And I was like, come on, we'll rush through that today. So, but it was amazing information.
Also very psychological. So
sorry?
Don't the webinar.
Sorry?
I say that Chiron, do not forget that Chiron is also very psychological, so don't miss the webinar.
Yes, it seems like Chiron and those small planets and asteroids, they have deep psychological feeling in them. But yeah, so hopefully we'll see you on the 7th, or even after that you can see the webinar. And thank you so much, Diana. Thank you everyone for being
for your attention. Thank you, Lada, too.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.